Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the third video, I believe, of Chapter 3, the Integumentary System. So you should have two other videos beforehand. If you didn't, then go look for them. You missed something. Right? Today, we are going to be talking about the accessory organs in your skin. So I got to ask, what is an accessory organ? Right? Well, think about how else you would use the word accessory in fashion. What is an accessory in fashion? It is a second off on the side thing. You don't necessarily need it, like a necklace or earrings. Like, you don't need a necklace or earrings. You do need clothing, but the necklace and earrings really bring the outfit together, right? It's gonna help a lot. And that's what accessories are in anatomy and physiology. These things, some of them you can actually survive without a lot of these things, but they do help a lot. So let's go into this and check out all of the accessory organs that are not technically part of your skin, but they do help with your skin. All right. So your accessory organs, if you remember the last video, we talked about all the stuff inside of your skin briefly. I did probably go into more detail than I needed, but it's always helpful to know things. Here we are purposely going into all that detail. And we are going to start with your hair. And your hair has actually different levels, different names. This part here sticking out of your skin is known as the shaft. And then down here is the root. And then surrounding that root is young epithelial cells that got pushed down and held there by the basement membrane. Those young skin cells are adding more skin cells. They're going through mitosis, making more skin cells and adding it to the hair. That's where your hair comes from. So your hair follicle is what is going to allow your hair to grow. So that's a cool thing to know. Your hair grows by adding more stuff to the bottom, pushing the older stuff up, which is why if you dye your hair, after a while, you start seeing your natural color come up from the bottom. You call that your roots, or you say your roots are showing. That's because you're pushing new stuff up underneath the old. And what color is your hair? Well, that is determined by melanin, the amount of melanin that's going into your hair. And that is determined by your genetics. But remember, melanin is a brown color. Hair is supposed to be brown. If you have black hair, what you really have is so much melanin that it looks black, but it's actually a really dark brown. And if you're blonde, what you really have is so little melanin that it doesn't look brown, it looks lighter, it looks blonde. Surrounding your hair follicles is a special gland. In the vocab, I went into detail about what a gland is. This gland is a bunch of cells that are all working together to create a chemical called sebum. That's what glands do, guys. Glands make chemicals. And this chemical, sebum, is something you know as oil or grease. So when your hair gets greasy, your skin gets greasy, what you're really talking about is you have too much sebum. And you do have to wash away the sebum. Because sebum is a good thing because it is going to keep your skin moisturized. Your skin doesn't actually want water to be moisturized. It wants oils. And sebum is an oil-based chemical. And it's going to keep your skin soft. It's going to keep your hair soft. And really important, it's going to keep you waterproof. Because if your skin doesn't want water, you kind of want to keep it away. You don't want to get too waterlogged. Now, too much sebum can become a bad thing. It can collect bacteria. Dust and grime and germs do get stuck in it. So you do need to wash away the old sebum and make room for new, fresher sebum. If you don't wash it away, those collected bacteria start building up under your skin. If you look at this picture here, they start working their way down and start reproducing, and you have a pile of bacteria under the surface of your skin. And that's what a pimple is. It is bacteria that got caught in your sebum. So you do want to wash the old stuff away to make room for new. When you start seeing the whitehead, what that is a whole bunch of your immune system coming in to fight the bacteria. And now you have a war going. You have a battleground going underneath your skin. And what you're seeing is as the white pus, the whitehead stuff is actually a bunch of white blood cells, your immune system. You don't actually want to pop that pimple to get rid of that white cell because you have so much bacteria in there, you would just be spreading bacteria across your skin and then making more pimples. Right? What you want to do is take a little toothpaste, dab it onto the pimple, and has to be the white toothpaste, not that gel stuff. As the white toothpaste starts to dry, draw moisture out of the pimple and kill the bacteria. So it's actually a really inexpensive skin treatment. I do suggest it. It does work. Moving on, what we did not talk about last time are your nails. What we talked about last time is your hair and how your hair is actually just skin cells. And we said keratin would be added to your hair to make it harder and a different texture. And that's why your hair looks and feels different than your skin does, even though it's made out of the same stuff. Your nails are actually made out of the same stuff as well. Those are just skin cells. If you look down here where it's slightly lighter color, it's whiter, those are fresher, younger skin cells. And as, just like your hair, as new cells are added, the old ones are pushed forward and they die and they get keratinized very strongly. There's more keratin in your nails than in your hair. So remember that order. Skin gets some keratin, hair gets a lot of keratin, nails get the most keratin. And because of that, they're stronger and they can be used for protection. All right, down here, sweat glands. If you look down here, you get this white cloud. That is a sweat gland. If you remember, these sweat glands collect a lot of water. And way back in the beginning of Bio 1, we talked about how water absorbs heat. It's like a heat sponge. So the sweat glands fill themselves up with water and some other chemicals, and it draws in the heat from all of the surrounding blood vessels. So you can take the heat out of your blood, and now you're circulating cooler blood around your body. But what do we do with that heat? Well, now that it's in the water, the sweat gland is going to push the water out of your body where it can evaporate, and as it evaporates, the heat goes away too. And the more you sweat, the more heat you release. No, you're not going to feel super cool. I wish it cooled you down that much. All it's going to do is make you less hot. It's not meant to make you comfortable. It's meant to keep you alive. Speaking of the blood vessels, let's talk about that. Your blood vessels' job, well, there are actually a lot of jobs for your blood, mostly to transport stuff around your body. But right now, I would like to talk about body temperature, since we just talked about sweat glands. Your blood does a very good job of regulating your body heat. It actually does it more than your sweat glands do. So you remember back about when we talked about homeostasis, and we said that your normal body temperature is going to be about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, if you get too hot, that starts becoming a bad thing, and we want to get rid of it. So one thing it's going to do, if your body temperature goes above that set point, look over here at this thermometer, as your body temperature starts getting higher, your blood vessels over here are going to start dilating. Right? You see that happen? Your blood vessels actually went from a normal size to a much bigger size. That's what we mean by dilate, to get bigger, which means even more blood is going to flow in that area. And if this is in your skin, even more blood's coming to the surface so that more heat can escape your skin. More heat can go into your sweat glands and sweat it out. So thicker blood vessels, bigger blood vessels means you lose body heat. That's a great thing in the summer. And then you sweat it all out and you cool off. You get to survive, so that's a good thing. What happens if it goes the other way? What if your blood vessels, so what happens if your body temperature shrinks down below this set point, colder than 98.6 degrees? Well, then your blood vessels are going to constrict, get much smaller, which means even less blood goes to the surface, which means you lose less heat. Now let's think about this, guys. You've experienced this before out in the cold. What is one of the first things to start becoming uncomfortable when it's cold out? Typically your fingers and your toes, and then continuing with your hands and the rest of your hands and the rest of your feet, because that's where things are really close to the surface. You are steadily losing blood flow from the furthest parts of your body and keeping all that heat in the middle where all of those organs are kept. So yes, you might actually be losing feeling in your hands. You may even lose your fingers from frostbite if it gets too cold. But the important thing is the heat is staying around your internal organs, keeping you alive. Your sweat glands do also become inactive. You stop sweating to keep heat in. And here's the cool thing. Your muscles start moving uncontrollably. We call that shivering. We learned that every time that you move, you make energy. And every time you make energy, you also make body heat. So uncontrollable shivering is going to make more body heat to keep you warm. Taking a little side step here before I move on, guys. I want to talk about the constricting blood vessels. All right. When you hit 21 and you actually begin drinking, because I know none of you are 21 yet, none of you actually drink, so you don't have to worry about that yet. But when you are old enough, you should not drink out in the cold. Now, back in the day, people used to think if you drink hard liquor would actually warm you up. You think, oh, I feel so much warmer now. Here's what's actually happening. Alcohol has a chemical reaction that causes your blood vessels to dilate, to get bigger, which means blood starts flowing in your limbs again and you think you feel warmer. But what did we say happens? When the blood vessels are getting bigger and blood is flowing at the surface, you are actually losing heat. So you think you feel warmer, but actually you're getting colder. You can die of hypothermia much faster if you are drinking alcohol out in the cold. So that is just a survival tip for you based on anatomy and physiology there. Going back to increased body heat, sometimes your body wants to increase the heat on purpose. We call this a fever. We talked all about that in Bio 1 as well. See that line there? This black line represents the set point. Your body decides it wants 104 to be the set point. And so your body temperature starts rising to 104 naturally. And that's actually a good thing, because if you have some kind of bacterial infection, that extra heat will kill the bacteria. It might destroy or denature a virus. So it's actually hurting you in the short run in order to save you in the long run. And once the bacteria is dead and you're healthy again, your set point goes back down to normal and you feel good again. That's called your fever breaking. Since we're talking about bacterial infections, usually you get that because you got cut and bacteria got in. So how would you heal that cut? Well, usually through mitosis. Old skin cells go through mitosis and make new skin cells and fill in the gap, and you get healed. Nice and easy. That's only for the shallow cuts. If you have a much deeper cut, then you're going to have to make a scab, or what we call in science a blood clot. This is going to be used to close deeper cuts. If your cut is too deep, then you're going to keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding before the cut finishes going through mitosis and healing up. So a blood clot or a scab is kind of a makeshift Band-Aid made out of old dried blood. That's like a clog or a cork that's going to be holding the blood in. And as you now make new cells, it's going to start filling in underneath the scab, and then the scab starts falling off. As you can see where there's a color difference, that's where the scab was, and it starts falling off as you heal. And sometimes this leaves a scar. If I go back to the last picture, if you cut down deep enough into the dermis, well, connective tissue is hard to heal. So what is faster than waiting for mitosis? By filling it in with something else. So we will fill the cut up with connective tissue, and that connective tissue is the scar. You have connective tissue mixed in with the epithelial tissue. That's what a scar really is. All right, so that is everything about your skin and the accessory organs having to do with your skin. That is it for notes for this chapter. Go back on Google Classroom, see if I left any work for you, and I will see you in the next chapter with a new organ system to talk about. See you around, guys.